today's mindful moment. Have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, one news network didn't just report on American politics, in the 21st century, but actually reshaped it?
It's a pretty bold claim, right?
Yeah. Today we're diving deep, really deep, into the Fox effect.
By David Brock, Ari Rabin-Havt, and Media Matters for America.
This book digs into a mountain of internal Fox News stuff. Emails, memos, all that.
It's really about getting to the heart of, Fox News' strategies and, the book's argument about their impact on how we talk about politics today.
So we're going to break it all down for you, give you the core, the essence of what the Fox effect is all about.
Yeah, what makes the Fox effect so interesting, at least to me, is that it's not just speculation. It's, grounded in evidence.
Real stuff.
Emails, memos, transcripts. They even use firsthand accounts from people, involved.
So we can actually, check the receipts, see what they're basing their arguments on.
Exactly. It allows us to really dig into the book's claims with a good degree of, precision.
So the book kicks off by going way back to the start, right? Back to the origins of Fox News.
Yeah, back to the drawing board.
Let's unpack how the Fox effect argues that Roger Ailes' early experiences, shaped his vision for the network. Even before Fox, it seems like he got it. How powerful TV was in politics.
Oh, absolutely. His work with Nixon way back when is really revealing.
Like the light bulb moment.
He understood that television wasn't just about entertainment. It was a way to, shape public opinion, move the needle.
Wow.
And the advice he gave Nixon about how to use TV, it's like a blueprint for what he did later at Fox News. The way you present the message, the way it looks and feels, it's just as important as the message itself.
Fascinating. And, it wasn't as if there were zero conservative voices on TV before Fox News came along.
Right. There were other players.
Yeah. The book talks about some of these earlier attempts, like TVN. What can we learn from, what worked and what didn't?
Yeah, TVN is a really good case study. You had people like Joseph Coors pushing a very specific, very ideological agenda. It might have appealed to some, but it kind of limited its reach,
I fired.
In a way, I think Ailes, because he was involved with TVN, he saw that. He learned that you need to balance your ideological position with at least appearing to be committed to reporting the news.
So walk that tightrope.
Exactly.
Interesting. But what's interesting is, according to the Fox effect, even with all his success in TV production, Ailes' real passion was always, politics. It wasn't just about building a media empire for him.
Oh, it was about something bigger.
Right.
His move to Fox News, as the book tells it, wasn't just a career change. It was strategic. It was about using a powerful media platform to, push his political beliefs, his worldview.
So the medium itself was the message.
In a way, yeah. The authors argue that this drive, this political ambition, it's what really shaped Fox News and the decisions they made.
Okay, so when Fox News finally launched, the book argues that they very deliberately copied a formula that was already working. Conservative talk radio.
Right. They tapped into this audience that felt ignored, maybe even alienated by the mainstream media.
They felt unseen, unheard.
And Murdoch, he had the vision to see that, to see the potential, even when other people were like, nah, I don't know about that.
He took a gamble.
He did. And he gave Ailes the resources, the backing he needed to make this vision a reality. He bet big on a news outlet that would cater specifically to a conservative audience.
And, the Fox effect doesn't stop at just explaining, what Fox News was trying to do. It goes into the specifics of how they allegedly did it, what techniques they used to gain influence.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts.
Exactly. One tactic they highlight is, and this is their term, mischievous speculation.
It's like planting a seed of doubt, suggesting something might be true without actually saying it outright.
Interesting.
They give this example of Bill Salmon, a big player at Fox News. In his emails, he talks about Obama's supposed racial obsessions and how he might be a secret Marxist.
Oh, wow.
Now, the book doesn't say these are facts, but they use these emails to show that there was a deliberate effort to, create a certain negative perception of Obama, but through suggestion, not outright claims.
I see. So, nudging the audience in a certain direction.
Exactly.
And the book argues that Fox News wasn't just reacting to the news cycle. They were trying to, control it.
Yeah, they were setting the agenda.
Right. And they use Obama's spread the wealth comment as an example of how they would take something and, run with it, push a narrative.
Yeah, that's a great example. The book goes into detail about how Fox News took that one comment, that one offhand remark, and made it into like this symbol of Obama's supposed socialist agenda.
Like, wow.
And by hammering on it over and over, they basically shaped how a lot of people and even other media outlets saw it.
So they were like agenda setters.
In a way, yeah.
The Fox effect also talks a lot about the importance of the personalities they put on air, these big names who really connected with the conservative audience.
Oh, yeah, people like Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck.
Household names.
They built a loyal following. They had their own style, their own way of speaking to their viewers. And the book argues that their commentary, even some of their more controversial statements, really solidified that bond with their audience.
It's like they became trusted voices.
Yeah.
People really felt like they were speaking directly to them.
Exactly. They were like the voice of the people, at least for a certain segment of the population.
And, we can't forget about how Fox News presented the news visually.
Oh, right, like the news ticker.
Yeah, it's everywhere now, but they really made it a thing.
It's subtle, but it's effective. It creates this feeling of like constant information overload. You always have to be in the know.
Keeping people glued to the screen.
Exactly. They're always catching something new out of the corner of their eye.
But one of the book's main arguments is that Fox News, they prioritized opinion and commentary over like actual investigative reporting.
They weren't digging for scoops, not in the traditional sense.
Right.
Their thing was providing a platform for commentators to interpret the news, to frame it through a conservative lens.
So less about the facts, more about the spin.
In a way, yeah. And the book suggests that this approach might have been, more cost-effective too. It's cheaper to have people talking than to have reporters out in the field doing investigations.
Interesting. Now, the Fox effect doesn't shy away from some pretty controversial stuff. It straight up accuses Fox News of spreading misinformation, even promoting conspiracy theories.
Yeah, they go there.
And the examples they give are like pretty out there. The claim that Obama went to a madrasa, the birther conspiracy, the whole death panel thing about healthcare reform.
It's a wild ride.
And the book lays it all out, how these stories took root and how they were like amplified on Fox News.
It's almost like a case study in how misinformation spreads.
And they also talk about how Fox News would platform certain authors, even when those authors had a track record of, being wrong.
Like Jerome Corsi.
Yeah, he's a good example.
Yeah.
The book argues that Fox News, by giving him a platform, even with his history of inaccuracies, helped to spread those inaccuracies further.
It's a question of responsibility, who are you giving a voice to and what are the consequences of that?
Yeah, that's a good point. And it wasn't just reporting the news. They also allegedly promoted specific political ads and fundraising efforts, like right on the air.
Yeah, blurring the lines a bit.
Right. Like they talk about the Reverend Wright ad that ran during the 2008 election and how they pushed Scott Brown's Senate campaign in Massachusetts.
They were very much in the game in terms of, picking sides and actively supporting certain candidates.
Not just reporting, but campaigning.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And according to the book, Fox News kind of threw out the whole idea of giving a new president a honeymoon period. They went after Obama pretty much from day one.
No grace period.
Right. The book highlights how Fox News hosts were criticizing his policies, even questioning his legitimacy right from the start.
It was a very different approach from, how other networks were covering his early days in office.
And this is kind of shocking. The book even claims that Fox News would sometimes take Republican press releases and just read them word for word on air, as if it was their own reporting.
Whoa.
Yeah, like they give an example about the stimulus bill, the graphics they used, the language they used, even the factual errors. They matched a Senate Republican press release almost perfectly.
That's pretty damning.
Yeah, it really throws their whole claim of being, fair and balanced into question.
Big time.
And it wasn't just domestic policy. The book suggests they also tried to portray Obama as, like, un-American when he was traveling abroad.
Yeah, cherry-picking his remarks, taking things out of context.
Right. Like, they talk about his speeches in Europe and in Cairo. The book shows how Fox News would take snippets, present them out of context, and even falsely claim that he hadn't used words like terror or terrorism, even though he did.
It's a deliberate attempt to distort his image.
Yeah, to paint him in a certain light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the Tea Party.
Okay.
The Fox effect argues that Fox News played a huge role in amplifying this whole conservative grassroots movement.
Oh, absolutely. They were all over it.
Right. They covered the Tea Party rallies extensively, even did live broadcasts from the rallies with their own hosts.
Yeah, they weren't just observers, they were participants.
Exactly. The book argues that Fox News went beyond just reporting on the Tea Party. They actively helped it grow and spread.
They gave it a platform, legitimacy.
Yeah, some media observers even said that Fox News was basically like a co-sponsor of the Tea Party protests.
That says a lot.
Yeah, it really does. And the book talks about how Fox News framed the Tea Party, how they portrayed the participants as like heroes, fighting this epic battle between good and evil.
It's a powerful narrative.
Yeah, very dramatic. And they knew that the Tea Party could really shake things up politically.
Right. They saw its potential.
So the book argues that Fox News strategically promoted the Tea Party in the lead up to the 2010 midterm elections.
They gave them airtime, they validated their concerns, they amplified their criticisms of the Obama administration.
And all of that, the book argues, contributed to the Republican wave that year.
It definitely played a role.
Okay, now let's talk about something else the Fox effect dives into. How Fox News went after their political opponents, anyone who dared to criticize them.
Yeah, they didn't pull any punches.
Like they painted healthcare reform as this socialist nightmare, even pushing the whole death panel lie.
Fear-mongering at its finest.
And they even seemed to encourage, disruptive behavior at town hall meetings.
Yeah, their rhetoric was pretty heated.
The book lists a bunch of Obama administration officials who became targets of, often baseless accusations on Fox News.
Van Jones, Cass Sunstein, Mark Lloyd, Carol Browner, John Holdren. The list goes on.
They really went after them.
They did. They used misrepresentations, distortions, anything to paint them in a negative light.
And then there's the Acorn controversy.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
They heavily promoted those edited videos by Andrew Breitbart. For a different perspective on how media narratives work, especially with audio, you might find the Mindful Moments YouTube channel interesting.
It's all about AI audiobook analysis.
Yeah, it's a cool channel. While we're focusing on the claims made in the Fox effect right now, checking out Mindful Moments might give you some more tools for thinking about how media shapes our views.
Definitely worth a look.
So back to Acorn. The book goes through those videos frame by frame and shows how they were selectively edited, how a lot of the original allegations were later debunked.
But the damage was done.
Yeah. And the Fox effect suggests that this was another case of, narrative over facts. They ran with a story that fit their agenda, even when the evidence was shaky.
It's a pattern we see again and again.
And even Al Gore wasn't safe. The book says Fox News twisted his words about his financial interests in climate change.
Trying to make him look like a hypocrite, basically.
Right. They aired this clip of him talking about donating his earnings, but they cut out the part where he actually said he was donating it.
So misleading.
Yeah. The book argues that Fox News was trying to portray him as this greedy profiteer, even when the evidence showed otherwise.
It's a classic smear tactic.
Then there's the Sherrod affair, remember that?
Vaguely.
This USDA official who was accused of racism based on a deceptively edited video.
Oh, right. Breitbart again?
Yeah, and Fox News initially ran with it.
Yeah.
It's the perfect example of how these narratives, even when they're false, can have real consequences.
People's lives can be ruined.
Exactly. The book talks about how Sherrod was eventually vindicated and how she called out Breitbart and Fox News for what they did.
It shows the dangers of spreading information without checking the facts first.
Absolutely. And the book also mentions the new Black Panther Party voter intimidation claims.
Oh, wow. That takes me back.
Fox News really pushed that story, even after the Justice Department, under the Bush administration, decided not to press charges.
Interesting.
Yeah, the book uses this as another example of how Fox News would hammer on certain narratives, especially ones about race or ones that made Obama look bad, even when there wasn't much evidence to support them.
It fits their agenda.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on to how the Fox effect portrays Fox News' role in partisan politics. They lay out a pretty clear case that Fox News personalities openly campaigned for Republican candidates and causes.
They weren't shy about it.
Like, they were all in on Scott Brown in that Massachusetts Senate race. They urged viewers to donate to his campaign. They painted his opponent, Martha Coakley, in a really negative light.
They were practically part of his campaign team.
Yeah. The book even says that some Fox News reporters were coordinating strategy with the Brown campaign.
Wow, that's crossing a line.
And it wasn't just on-air endorsements. They were a fundraising machine for Republican.
They made it easy for people to donate.
Yeah, guys like Dick Morris and Sean Hannity would straight up ask for donations for Republican candidates and organizations right on their shows.
It's like a telethon for the Republican Party.
And the Fox effect points out this double standard in how they covered political gaffes. If a Republican messed up, no big deal. But if a Democrat did the same thing, they'd go after them relentlessly.
Two different sets of rules.
Yeah, like they compare the coverage of Martha Coakley's remarks to Scott Brown's missteps during that special election. It was night and day.
Totally biased.
And get this. The book even claims that Fox News implied that their viewers would be better off financially if Republicans won elections.
Seriously?
They quote a Fox business host saying that investors would love a Brown victory and that viewers' 401ks would benefit.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's like they're using financial incentives to influence people's votes.
It's pretty messed up.
Now, the Fox effect also takes us behind the scenes at Fox News under Roger Ailes.
What was it like?
Apparently, it was all about control and paranoia.
Sounds intense.
Yeah, Ailes was obsessed with secrecy, he was terrified of leaks, and he'd come down hard on anyone who shared information without permission.
So a culture of fear.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And the book also has some former Fox News employees accusing them of intentionally slanting the news to the right, especially under Bill Salmon.
They were pushing an agenda.
Right. These sources talk about how they were pressured to frame stories in a certain way, even if it meant leaving things out or ignoring other viewpoints.
It's like they were putting their thumb on the scale.
Yeah. And the book mentions some journalists who left Fox News because they felt like they were being asked to compromise their ethics.
They couldn't stomach it.
Like Major Garrett is one example. He just couldn't deal with the network's blatant partisanship.
It's a tough spot to be in.
And the book really gets into Ailes' paranoia. He had all this elaborate security. He was always worried about threats, both inside and outside the network.
It sounds almost like a bunker mentality.
Yeah, and the book suggests that this mindset really trickled down and affected the whole network.
It's like a pressure cooker.
In the final stretch, the Fox effect talks about how other news outlets and politicians reacted to Fox News' growing power.
They weren't just going to sit back and watch.
Right. Like, remember when Anita Dunn called Fox News opinion journalism masquerading as news?
Oh, yeah, that caused a stir.
Yeah, it really ticked them off.
Yeah.
But it shows how Fox News was starting to be seen as a real force, a threat even.
They were shaking things up.
And then there's the Fox primary, this idea that Republican candidates had to win over Fox News to have a chance.
Fox News became the kingmaker.
Exactly. It shows you how much influence they had within the Republican Party.
It's pretty remarkable.
And, of course, we can't forget about Glenn Beck.
Oh, boy.
His rhetoric was, let's just say it was controversial. He compared Obama to Nazis. He attacked George Soros. He was all over the place.
He pushed the boundaries, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the book points out how some people saw his attacks on Soros as anti-Semitic, drawing on some pretty dangerous historical tropes.
That's troubling.
Yeah. And then there was that phone hacking scandal at News Corp in the UK.
Oh, right, that whole mess.
It didn't directly involve Fox News, but it definitely tarnished their image, raised questions about Rupert Murdoch's whole media empire.
It was a black eye for them.
Yeah, it made people wonder about their ethics, their standards.
It's hard to come back from something like that.
Okay, so to wrap it all up, the Fox effect basically argues that Fox News went from just covering the news to actively trying to shape it.
They became players, not just referees.
Exactly. And the book says that their strategies, their close ties to the Republican Party, have had a major impact on how we talk about politics in this country.
They changed the game.
So what do we take away from all of this? The Fox effect really makes us think about what happens when a news network has a very specific agenda.
It's a cautionary tale.
Yeah, it makes us ask, how can we be more critical of the news we consume? How can we tell what's real and what's spin, no matter which network we're watching?
It's about being media literate, about questioning everything.
Exactly. So what do you say? Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this. Share this episode with anyone who you think needs to hear it.
Spread the word.
And if you want to go even deeper into this topic, we've got a link where you can buy The Fox Effect. Go check it out.
It's a fascinating read.
But most importantly, keep thinking critically about the information you're taking in. Don't just accept everything at face value. Question everything.
Stay skeptical, my friend.
That's the key.